So editing your Milky Way shots is another one of these things where there's not one answer, there's not one process, there's not one route, there's not one bunch of settings or presets. Like every shot is different and you're going to have to edit your own photos differently. But I am happy to share what I do, and I hope that something in that is useful to you. So this is the raw image. This is one of a time-lapse sequence I was shooting, and I've just taken everything off to give an outline of my process. So we're in Darktable. I love Darktable. I highly recommend it to people. It's on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's free. It's just great. I am an advocate of it. We've got a tracked image here. That is why the foreground is blurry. 2-minute exposure, so the trees and the houses are blurred, but the Milky Way is not. So that's what's going on. So yeah, just quick. We'd be here for a long time if I sort of like. I don't want to. I'll try not to bore everybody. Like, I'll just try and be like basic, quick-ish go through here of my process for these. So I start with what I consider to be like the fundamentals. So I'll get rid of the hot pixels, for example, which is you can do only on raw images, as far as I understand. I will use lens correction, which is handy. Just the lens I was using here is very wide, so you can see that the difference between the uncorrected and corrected lens. You see a warp, maybe hope that comes across. And then I will use some basic adjustments. So this is a great tool in Darktable. We can just bring everything up a bit, and I'll reset it. We'll raise the exposure a bit. We'll compress the highlights a bit, and contrast, we're going to use some other tools on contrast later, so I might actually leave that there for now. Saturation and vibrance. And just a touch. So one of the great things about Darktable, as with so many editors these days, is non-destructive, so you can always go back and change these things if you think you got it wrong, which I love. Next, I will bring up, there is a specific tool for shadows and highlights, so I will turn that on. And that's worked quite nicely there. So the pulling the shadows up, like, we need to make a difference clear between the nebulosity of the Milky Way and the background light, the sort of what do you call it? Yeah, background, isn't it? Like, if you bring up the shadows too harshly, you'll bring up the actual noise floor itself, like the background, and we won't have any difference between the background and the Milky Way. The contrast is what makes it pop out. So I quite like to look at it on default, actually, so we're going to leave shadows at about 60. The compression here can be pretty handy sometimes. Okay, so it's looking better, but it's quite flat at the moment. So there's a few tools that Darktable has that will help us out here. One is called local contrast. And there's some good tool tips in here as well that will tell you a few things about what the filter does. So there's different types of local contrast options here. But yeah, let's see what happens. Just as an example, I'm going to put the local contrast up too high. You see what it's done there? It's kind of over processed it, over sharpened it. It looks pretty ugly, but yeah. I mean, this is my technique basically for most sliders. Just like put them to the extreme to see what you're actually playing with, and then try and find a nice balanced sort of amount of something. I don't like going too far on the editing. I mean, maybe from your perspective, maybe I do take things too far. I don't know, or maybe vice versa. Like we've all got our own tastes, haven't we? But it's just kind of we're able to bring out some more detail with this tool. You see the difference there between off, coming a bit closer here, and on. Where there's more of a difference between the background and the nebulosity. Okay, there is also a tool which I believe works on wavelets, which is the contrast equalizer. Let's turn that on. So we've got the ability here to affect coarse details and fine details. So the fine details are going to be like the stars and things. So you'll have, let's put this to the max. We've like sharpened the difference between tiny specks. So that looks ugly, but a bit of fine will just add some sharpness. You don't want too much. And then the coarse details, the actual shape of the clouds of the Milky Way. If I put this onto the max, you'll see them here, and also the glow around. So yeah, working on that channel, that vertical line of coarse, perhaps that's too coarse. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, too much. A tool to be subtle with. And just draw out a bit more shape in the clouds, the Milky Way clouds, without going too far. And then just bring a bit of sharpness to the stars. Getting there. So where are we now? We have a fairly bright, contrast enhanced kind of Milky Way shot here, and then we've got all these tone tools. So we'll typically use the tone curve just to get the shot to kind of the brightness that I would choose, and then we can shape this line again to bring even more difference between the Milky Way and the background. So we've got some drama there, like that. Like personally, I just like having the brightness at kind of pleasing level, and then just highlighting that difference a sensible amount. And last thing I want to talk about is the noise. So we have a tool in Darktable called Astrophoto Denoise. Let's put that on. It should work fairly well just with the default settings. Yeah. And there we have the Milky Way. So with a bit more time, I would probably start to address the glow around the features in the foreground. Maybe fine-tune some more of the tools more, so that the Astrophoto Denoise, for example, and there are other denoise things we can use. There's profile denoise. So it actually has data about your camera's sensor and the ISO for that you've used. And it's like anything, there's a cost to the denoise. It can make your Milky Way look a bit plasticky. I have used Denoise AI in the past, which similarly can then create a plasticky look if you over denoise. But I mean, it's all a matter of taste and all a matter of, in my opinion, just I like to go not so extreme, and then you can steer away from some of the negative outcomes of those tools that you might have available to you. So there, I think, yeah, we'll call that it for today. I hope there was something useful in here for everybody, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.